Hello and welcome back to Off the Post. In today's episode, I'll be discussing how Max Dowman has become the youngest ever goal scorer in Premier League history. But before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated, and it goes a long way helping me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 297 subscribers. We're only 3 away from getting my main target, 300. Can we go and smash it? Hopefully we can. And yeah, just want to say a massive thank you for the recent support on our most recent episodes, all the likes and the comments on social media as well. Definitely is going unnoticed. And yeah, just want to say a massive thank you, really. So yeah, let's get straight into the episode, shall we? Arsenal beat Everton 2-0 at the weekend on Saturday evening, okay? And this will go down as one of the most defining games of the season if they go on again and win the Premier League title, okay? This will be an absolute, defining moment in their season because of the performance, okay? They were getting absolutely battered the whole game by Everton. They was putting so much pressure onto Arsenal the whole game, and they finally found the breakthrough in the 89th minute thanks to Victor Gyökeres. But then again, you could say to yourself, Jordan Pickford pretty much gave him a goal. I don't know what on earth Jordan Pickford was doing for that first goal, okay? Why was he rushing out on his net? Why was he rushing out of his net? I don't know. You could say to yourself, where were the centre backs? There was so much open space for those, Arsenal players in the box. So you probably could understand it from a goalkeeper perspective, but then why rush out why rush out? Why not just back yourself in there and try and save the ball rather than trying to like clear it with your fists and whatnot? Because he's misjudged it now, and he's pretty much gave Arsenal such a lucky goal. Okay, all things considered, right? Everton, from the Everton perspective, they will feel so disappointing in this game just because when you think about the likes of Dwight McNeil in the first half, he was running riot on that Arsenal defence, wasn't he? He was having so many chances. He had like two or three shots where he could have scored a goal, and he must have felt so unlucky and so disheartened to not score a goal. There was that one shot in the first half where nice little delivery into the box, okay, and he had a nice little shot, but then Calafiore just blocked it at the last second, doing some like karate kick, lift up in the air. I don't have a clue. Shannon is like in a Jaden Smith, if you like. I don't know what he was doing, but amazing defending from the Italian defender there to sort of block the ball. And then there was another volley in like the 30th, 40th minute, okay, for Dwight McNeil as well. And then I think Bettery had a shot just after Dwight McNeil, and that David Raya did amazing to sort of get down and clear it out wide. So from that point of view, Arsenal were it wasn't a perfect performance by Arsenal like many games this season, but they were so resolute at the back, so strong defensively to not concede a goal. And then when it was time to perform, like, don't get me wrong, they did get a little bit lucky for the first goal. Victor Gyökeres, he does like scoring a few tappings here and there, doesn't he? Victor Gyökeres, the Swedish striker, like we've seen this season. But a goal's a goal at the end of the day. They did get a little bit lucky, but with that second goal, honestly, Max Dowman becoming the youngest ever goal scorer in the Premier League history at 16 years old, and like I want to say, at 16 years old, absolutely amazing. He's overtaken the likes of James Milner, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney to sort of become the youngest ever goal scorer in Premier League history, and it was such an amazing performance by him. That little switch of pace, okay, just to get to the ball and burst past all those players. Okay, there was a nice little skill move just to skip past one of those players on the last line of their defence. Okay, before he just bursts forward and eventually scores that goal. Honestly, like that was like that was a mature performance by Max Dowman. That's probably a perfect compliment to give to the young centre midfielder, or even right wing if you like. But honestly, a lot of praise has to go to Mikel Arteta because you know he's actually gambled on playing a youngster rather than bringing on like a mature seasoned pro in the likes of Gabriel Jesus. Okay, he's sort of taken a risk there and brought on the 16-year-old midfielder, and he's absolutely changed up the game and he secured those 3 points for Arsenal. Okay, because at 1-0 the game's still a bit unsure. Everton probably could have got a little bit of momentum. It only takes one or two chances, like you've seen in the first half, and Everton could have potentially, got a draw out of this game. You know, Again, Mikel Arteta, you've got to praise him because there's been a few times this season where he's been a bit, you know, he's not been very what's the word I'm thinking of? there's been a few times this season where Mikel Arteta is sort of taken the easy option, isn't it? He's sort of it feels like when you're watching Arsenal, they sort of try to set up to not lose rather than try and win, if that makes sense. They'd rather not lose, try and hold out for a draw and whatnot, rather than take the game to the opposition and try and get those 3 points. And this is a defining moment, defining match in their history, okay, because of obviously the Max Dowman being the youngest ever goal scorer now, and we could potentially witness Arsenal go on and win the Premier League this season, okay, from this performance, just because, they're on 70 points, they're 9 points ahead of Man City, okay, and when you think about the two performances from both of these teams, Arsenal were absolutely abysmal in this game, like performance-wise. They could not get anything going, and then they couldn't get anything going, but they still got the 3 points over the line. But when you compare that to Man City, they were completely rubbish, and they absolutely bottled it against West Ham, didn't they? And they only got a 1-1 draw. So from that point of view, it just goes to show it just goes to show, like I mentioned, in the week, the fine margins of the Premier League these days. Honestly, you know, this is why the better teams will always come out on top, and Arsenal have been the best team this season in the Premier League and probably in world football. To be completely honest with you, they've got an outside chance of doing some good stuff in the Champions League. I don't see them getting the Champions League and the Premier League title this season, but it's definitely possible. But it's all things gunners at the moment, and I feel like after this performance, they're just going to run away with the title now, because they have been so resolute defensively throughout the whole season. That's what they've built their status on this season, if you like. That's where their structure, their focus on Mikel Arteta, the style of players become from having a good defence, and then the attack. You've seen the sprinkles of attacking us throughout the season with a Breach Eze, Vic Gyökeres, even though he probably could have done a little better this season. Trossard, Martinelli, Bukayo Saka, even though he hasn't been forming recently. But for me, a lot of praise has to go on Mikel Arteta again. Like I said a few minutes ago, he could have easily played it safe and brought on, Gabriel Jesus, a seasoned professional, and then if it didn't work out, the blame would be you would have to put the blame on Gabriel Jesus not doing the business. The blame would go on him because he's had so many years, he's had so much experience in the Premier League. However, when you put the blame when you put the pressure on a Max Dowman, okay, you won't blame him for not playing well. You blame Mikel Arteta, wouldn't you? And that's probably probably one of the reasons why it's been successful, because at the moment Mikel Arteta, I think he came out in the press conference afterwards, and he gave so much praise towards the 16-year-old midfielder. They've produced so many talents over the years, haven't they? And he's just another one to add to their books. Okay, in the likes of Bukayo Saka, in the likes of Lewis Morris Skelly as well. Even though he's not had the best season so far, he's had a breakout season last season. Max Dowman now as well. Honestly, who's going to be the next one? Who's going to be the one next season? Don't get me wrong. I don't want to get ahead of myself and say Max Dowman is the next best world class talent. He is definitely looking like that at the moment, but you don't want to put too much pressure on him. He's definitely got abundance of talent. There's a lot of promise there, but when you put too much pressure on a young player like that, will they thrive, or will they it depends. Will they thrive, or will they just go bust? You don't want to play. You don't want to throw them into the team straight away and whatnot. It is good what Mikel Arteta is doing at the moment, but one absolute amazing time for him. Okay, he's still at school, isn't he? He's doing his GCSEs, or he just finished doing them at the moment. Honestly, I can't believe it. I can't believe it, honestly. What was we all doing at 16? Couldn't believe it. He's playing Premier League football, and he's scoring his first. He got his first Premier League goal against Everton. Okay, honestly, fantastic performance by the 16-year-old. But yeah, I think that just sums the whole situation up, because I was saying midweek, okay, from an Everton perspective, could they potentially get top six if they can manage to get a result against Arsenal in this game? And unfortunately for them, you could say to yourself, they probably did deserve something. They did deserve probably at least a draw. So concede two goals in the like 90th minute, okay, and then the 97th minute is very unfortunate. David Moyes was going absolutely crazy on the touchline when they was having a few chances here and there. They probably should have scored in the first half. There was 2 or 3 clear-cut chances. They had probably more better clear-cut chances than Arsenal did. They probably had more clear-cut chances than Arsenal did in this game, but for whatever reason, they just couldn't get the ball over the white line, over the back of the net. Okay, and it is a little bit unlucky, but it's a tricky one because now Arsenal being 9 points in the lead, with them being so consistent in the Premier League this season, they've got what 8 games left to win the Premier League. They've just got to get some decent results out there, don't they? Their next 2 games, they've got the game in the Champions League against Bayer Leverkusen. That was a pretty mixed performance in there. Drew 1-1. Then they're playing Man City in the FL Cup, big game. Then they got the FA Cup as well. So the next 3 games, they're not playing the Premier League game for maybe like a week or two now. I'm pretty sure it has to be because their next 3 games on in the Premier League. But then in the Premier League, they got Bournemouth, they got Man City, they got Newcastle, they got Fulham, West Ham. A lot of teams in there that have still got stuff to play for. So we'll have to just wait and see what happens. But I think it is Arsenal's to lose now, honestly. Like I did mention a few days ago in my previous videos. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. How would you feel about Max Dowman becoming the youngest ever Premier League goal scorer? Okay, he's overtaken the likes of James Milner, Michael Owen, Wayne Rooney to beat that record. Okay, honestly, fantastic scenes from him. Do you feel like it's Arsenal's Premier League to lose? Can Man City still catch him up? How do you feel like Everton in this game? Should Everton actually got something out of it? Should they have gotten a draw? Should they have scored some goals to potentially get a 1-0, 2-0 victory? How will David Moyes feel? Will they feel disheartened, or is it just, the best team in the Premier League, best team in the world, showing up, you know, playing bad, but still showing up when they're playing bad, if that makes sense. And yeah, before that, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. It goes a long way helping me build a small community on my channel. We've recently just hit 297 subscribers. We're only 3 away from 300. Can we go and do it, please, please, please? And yeah, I really want to say a massive thank you for all the support on the most recent episodes, all the likes and the comments on social media as well. It does definitely doesn't go unnoticed, really. I really do hope you have a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.